Hello and welcome to the Hopkinton Hangout Hour, everybody. We are back for another edition. I am HCAM News Director Tom Nappy, and today we have Gay Perkoski with us. She is a local musician. We also have Mike Terosian joining us, as well as Matt Clark monitoring the social media. Feel free to leave your questions or comments on our Facebook page. There's a post at the top of the page where you could leave a question or comment, or our YouTube live stream page, or by email at studio@hcam.tv. And with us, we have Gay Perkoski. Gay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. The sun is shining, although it's kind of hidden away a little bit, but I'll take the weekend that we just had and the morning that we just had. How are you doing, Tom?
I'm doing well.
Good.
And yeah, I have to agree. That weekend, I think, is the best weather we've had all spring
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I
far.
think we deserve it. I do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for
Long
having me on today, Tom, by the way.
Yeah, our pleasure. So for the people watching out there who may not know about you, could you talk about your music background and where you're from and how you got started performing?
Sure. So I'm from Attleboro, and I've been singing all my life, and I was in bands in my, young life, but I got married and had kids, and about a dozen years ago, I started playing in a duo with a dad from my son's baseball team. We were just playing by a campfire, and we started doing a duo and playing out in Attleboro, and we played together for I think a little over a year, and then we got busy with life, and I moved on to a couple other duos, and then I ended up by myself in 2012, and I released. I was writing songs all my life, and I released my first CD in 2012, and then one a year and a half later, and started playing up in this area, and met Ray Osier, who just actually who's over at Milford TV. I mean, sorry, not Milford TV, Milford My FM. Sorry, I'm on TV. So, sorry, but anyways, so I get to know Ray and this area, and started playing out in this area, and have had some success up here and enjoying it, and have made a lot of friends and met people such as yourself out and about in the music arena up here. So it's been great. I love being up here.
Absolutely. And you've gained a good following over the last few years around the local area. Could you talk about us, who some of your musical influences are and the type of stuff that you play?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, actually, the biggest musical influence on my life was my mom. We actually just lost my mom in February, and she we would go around town and sing in the car. She and my sister and myself, we would harmonize. So I got used to, picking out harmonies. So she was really my biggest musical influence. And then in terms of like artists, like writing, James Taylor. But harmonies, I always get drawn to harmonies. So like Indigo Girls, and I love Journey because of the amazing harmonies in Boston. Used to sing it, top of my lungs when I was a kid. But lots of different influences. I love Stevie Nicks. I love Alanis Morissette. Just try to grab a little bit of everybody when I play and when I sing. Pay homage to the artists, especially the ones that I cover when I play out. So,
What are some of your favorite covers to play?
oh, um, you know, um, everybody asks me that. I have like flavors of the week. You know what I mean? I started listening to, a friend told me about Patty Griffin, and I really had never I've heard of her, but I don't know. I listened the other day, and I said, wow. So she's someone I'm looking into now. But like I said, those James Taylor, he's a go-to. He's my go-to anyway. My chill out, mellow go-to.
And you play at a lot of different local venues. What are some of your favorite venues to play at?
Yeah. So where I actually met you is Cafe Sorrento in Milford. I usually used to play there, and hoping to play there again soon. Play there a couple times a month, and they also allowed me to have an open mic on a Tuesday night, and it was very successful, and people really enjoyed it. And that's one of the things I enjoy doing most over there, especially is the open mic. Coachman's Lodge, Bellingham, um, Galliford's Tavern in Mendon. Um, lots of places up here. Liz's Diamond. I just started doing an open mic there right before I everything happened. But so there's a lot of local places that are great, and the people around here, the music scene is second to none. I've never seen anything like it, and I'm so proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, it really is. It seems like just about everywhere around here has some type of music entertainment going on, and it just before this all happened, it was just growing and growing.
Yeah.
Uh, for those that don't know, can you talk about what the open mic is about?
So the open mics that I hold, people have different formats, and but in general, what an open mic is, you come to the venue, you sign up on a sheet, and depending on time constraints and what the host wants you to do, you sign up to do a couple of songs. They can be cover songs, they can be original songs, or whatever. There are open mics that are like for anything, for the spoken word, for poetry slams, and that kind of thing. But what I host are specific music jams. So I get a lot of the same people will come to the same venues, but I always get surprised. And, there's new people coming in every day. And I'm over here at a Valley Pub in Whitensville. I started hosting a monthly music social, which is akin to the one that's held in Milford at the Tradesman. And I host that with Adam Frost and Eric Milo once a month. And that's the same idea, but it's for bands. We do have, solos and duos as well, but it's set up for bands. We have a full PA system, full backline, full drum kit. So it's really exciting because bands will come out. They'll get up there and play 3 songs. They just, all they need to do is show up with their instruments, and they play three or four songs and have a great night. It's usually on a Wednesday. And, these are nights that are, typically slower for venues. And this is how they draw crowds in. And they've been real successful, and they're so much fun. They're some of the most fun I have when I go out to see my friends, because I get to actually listen. So that's exciting, Yeah.
I just think that's those events are just such great promotion for the local artists, and it's an opportunity for anybody from anywhere to go and just play some tunes and get some recognition.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. That's a lot of times people come out, and then the next thing you know, they're playing there, so it's great for them to get exposure. It's great for the clubs to hear new people, and for all of us to meet new people and new friends, because that's what it's about. Networking is what it's about.
Absolutely. So are you going to play some songs for us today?
I am. I got a couple songs. Actually, I was listening to my stuff, and I thought I would do some original music for you today. I have a couple songs from my second CD, and if we have time, I have a song that I wrote a couple months ago. So it's not on a CD.
Terrific.
All right. Just start
whenever you're ready.
All right. All right. So this song is from my second CD, which is called Work in Progress, and the song is called All Along. I wasn't easily impressed. Most of the time I was sad, 'cause I thought that all my bests were all that I would ever have. But then you took that away. Then you took that away. Yeah. I didn't want to feel the dirt. I was happy it was clean, but I never knew that I could hurt as much as I had ever seen. Then you took that away. Yeah, you took that away. Yeah. You knew me all along, and you knew that I would stay. You knew me all along, even when I left today. It only took a moment when I saw you look my way. You knew me all along. I saw the writing on the wall. I saw the gold beyond the mess. No
That was good stuff. That was awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very,
Uh,
very
so,
much.
so tell us a little more about that song. How long did it take you to write that one?
Well, I don't know. A lot of times you'll just get, I guess it depends. For me, it's different. Sometimes I'll just get a melody driving in the car, and I always have my voice recorder on, so I'm just singing driving in the car, and I just come up with a little melody, and I hum it or whatever, la la la, and I get home, and when I have time, I sit down with it. But oftentimes, like I'll wake up in the morning and it'll be there, and it's kind of wow, kind of like it just kind of comes out first thing in the morning. So it's for me it's different, I guess. Most of the time I'm a person that observes a lot of what's going on around me as opposed to my own stuff. Although I mean a lot of it is personal, but it's if I'm affected by something, that's how it happens for me.
So
Mike,
Gay, I see. Yeah, Gay, you're doing the open mics are great. Are you still one of those performers that like to go to open mics and try out your new stuff?
I love to do that, but thankfully I'm busy, so it's hard to do that.
Yeah,
So
right.
usually I work like Thursday, Friday, Saturday are the nights that I'll play out. But the open mics that I host and the socials that I host are like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So like every week, I'm out 3, 4, 5 nights a week doing something. So it's hard to fit
Sure.
it in, but I love to seek it out. I used to go to the Rose Room Review over
Yeah,
in
sure.
Upton.
Yep.
Craft Roots Brewing. My good friend Dave Penza. He is also a solo musician. He
Yes.
hosts one over there, so I try to go to that as often as I can. And yeah, I love to go. It's so funny. You get up and it doesn't matter how much you perform. Or at least for me, it doesn't matter how much I performed. Getting up there and trying something new is nerve wracking.
Oh, absolutely.
Flop sweat,
Absolutely.
it's but it keeps you very humble.
Absolutely.
You're
And I
very
tell you, I love the fact that, not only these small places will get the increased business from having these open mics on the off nights, but the talent that shows up
yeah,
on these off nights are great because if you try to do an open mic on one of those good Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, well, you know what? Most of these performers are going to go see those features
yeah,
at other locations,
yeah,
and it's incredible the talent that will just blow you away when they just start saying the first time, oh yeah, here's a 16-year-old whatever, first time here. It's like, holy cow, where'd you come
yeah.
from?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's unbelievable. Sometimes I've been amazed at the open mics that I host to have the talent, the caliber of talent. Like I said, this scene around here, not just the music scene, just like in general, this music support too is amazing. The restaurants that have us in to host the open mics,
Right.
the restaurants that have music. I mean, well now it's kind of crazy, but
And I agree, but and I feel too because I'm involved in the music scenes around here and all the arts and I find that they're not doing it just to draw customers in. They're doing it because they're supporting the arts. They
yeah, they
believe
love
in
it. They love it.
it.
I have a few places that, if for some reason something goes wrong and they're not able to have music or something, they're in a panic, because
Right.
that's what they do. That's kind of a part of who they are too, which is, and as a performer and you have that relationship with a venue, it's fantastic. It really
Yeah,
is.
that's great. And yeah, you're no stranger to the venues around here. I see, I follow the now the My FM
Yes.
the nomination awards every year
Yeah.
and I always see your name in one or three places every year for I don't know, at least the last 5 or 6 years that I can remember.
Well, that's
And
very
and it's always and you're not always with it, but when you do, it's always for something different. It's not like favorite female vocalist or anything like, you know, it, maybe
yeah.
for your acoustics, maybe for one of your groups, because now you're still doing the groups as well.
Yeah,
You're
I have a couple of other small projects that I'm a part of.
yeah,
My partner Adam Frost and I have a duo called Poof and the Butterfly,
yeah,
and I also have a trio, three-way street with Adam as well as Seamus McShay. We
yeah,
play out when we can and when people call for a trio. And then I have another. It's kind of put together as you want. It's called Gay in the Backline. So I'll
yeah,
call my musician friends depending on what your needs are. If you want a cajon or if you want a flute player, I don't know, if you want a sax player,
sure.
I can call up people and we get together and we'll put something together for you.
That's outstanding. And you find all this time, and like you said, you're doing all this work. It's hard to find the time to write, to like just sit down and write. And like you said, you take your recorder with you.
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's outstanding. And then you piece things together. Do you find that when you create a song such as what you just played, that it's like these poets with their poems? It's never finished. Do you feel yourself until you make that final recording on the CD? Do you find yourself keep on changing, or once you
Actually,
write it, you're
funny.
done?
Yeah, it's funny that you said that. I was having this conversation with a friend the other day about how even after you record your song, because a lot of times, when you're working on a CD, say you have like 7 or 8 songs that you want to put on a CD, and then then you'll decide, well, maybe I'll do a few more, and there are some there in the works, and maybe you haven't played them out that often. All of a sudden, after you start playing them out more often, they sound different than they did on the CD. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
right.
everything kind of morphs. So yeah, and everything that I'm playing, that song I just played for you, and probably the others, if you listen to my CD, you'd be like, wow, that sounds a lot different, and it does, because it's kind of changed with me.
Right.
But yeah.
And now that you moved to, as far as your teacher goes, you moved to the online. How's that transition been? Not
Um,
being able to be there and help the kids, help it just to figure out a guitar, or
yeah.
just be in that same room. How's that working out?
Yeah, well, it's going well. I only have like 1 or 2 music students, but I lead some online classes for adults with special needs,
Yep.
and that through Zoom has been amazing. It's been an amazing event every week, to be able to see my friends that I've been working. I think it's been 13 years, with a particular agency, and when this all happened, we couldn't see everybody. It was so difficult, and they just started doing some classes, and wow, what smiles on their faces. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine, the feelings that I feel, and I'm sure that they feel, the looks on their faces. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing.
After this whole virus thing is over, do you think the Zoom stuff, the lessons on Zoom and stuff like that, are things that you're going to keep doing?
Yeah, I think actually, considering this is New England and we get snow, which, I mean, we lucked out this past winter, but in general, I mean, we have snow, we have bad weather, and I actually moved, a little further north, and so for me, sorry, so for me, I mean, this is great. I mean, I was saying this to one of my students' moms, and she said, we could do this. So, if it's looking kind of iffy weather, or you can't make it, or if you're under the weather or not quite able to go in, if you want to, I said, it's an hour, you know what I mean? Or a half hour, whatever you're doing. It really, I think, will change the landscape. I think it will change the landscape for everything, but in particular for at home learning. Sure. I've gotten actually a few different people have, contacted me recently, like, can we start guitar lessons? These are adults, can we start guitar lessons? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. It's great. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no harm, no foul. It's not like anybody has to go anywhere. I mean, you can do it in your jammies if you want, I suppose.
Right. And you could probably have more people
Yeah,
taking these lessons as well.
sure.
All right. So, what song do you got for us next?
Sure. Okay. So do I have time for 1 or 2 more songs?
You got time for 2.
Okay. All right. This is, why don't I do a new one? I'll do a new one. I'll end with the
Excellent.
other one. All right. So this is a song that I wrote called, in January, called When Blue Goes Black. And I don't know. This, I don't even really know what it's about. I don't know. Just life observations, I guess. You don't want that. There we go. When blue goes black, it all comes back. Breathing gets so shallow. Racing mind from far behind. Pink chicks turn sallow. How did I ever get this way? All the heartaches have gone away. I wake up to a I miss that comfortable madness. When blue goes back, bags get packed, and my heart feels hollow. Driving fast to lose the past, I want you to follow. How did I ever get this way? All the heartaches have gone away. I wake up to a sunny day, but that wonderful, 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 wonderful sadness. I miss that comfortable, 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 comfortable madness. What's the sense in pretending when the daylight is ending and the time that you're spending is fading and breaking and bending into that wonderful, 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 wonderful sadness. That comfortable, 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 comfortable madness. Into that wonderful, 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 wonderful sadness. Into that comfortable, 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 comfortable madness.
Very nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. So since we only have a few minutes left, we'll let you get to the next song. What do we have now?
So this song is from my second CD, and it's the last song, the title song of the CD, called I forgot the name. Oh my God, you have no idea how many times I do that. Work in Progress. This is Work in Progress. It's getting kind of cold, and we're getting kind of old, but we're still young enough to take a chance. So won't you take my hand and dance? But don't forget those things that can help you spread your wings, and be sure you start to fly before your life passes you by. You're just a work in progress, just like an unpaid bill. You're just a two-day house guest, a cat on a windowsill. So please loosen up your grip, let me slip away a bit, to take a drive or to walk the woods, or to sit out by the sea. You can watch me run away, or you can try to help me stay by letting go of all that doubt. Please just let it all out and allow me to be loved the way I need to be. There's a fine line between weed and wine, and I step over the edge. Well, it's supposed to calm you down, but it just ramps me up instead. And my heart fills up and floats, but my mind boards a boat that sails across a stormy sea to a place that's not for me. 'Cause I'm just a work in progress. I'm like an unpaid bill. I'm just a 2-day house guest, a cat on a windowsill. So please loosen up your grip, let me slip away a bit, to take a drive and a walk the woods, or to sit out by the sea. You can watch me run away, or you can try to help me stay, by letting go of all that doubt. Please just let it all ride out and allow me to be loved the way I need to be. Well, time kicks up its heels as your life just spins its wheels, and you can taste the smell of burning rubber in your mouth. Well, I don't know a lot of things, but I think that what a person brings is a whole lot of baggage on the way up to heaven, just to avoid that trip down south. 'Cause it's just a work in progress. It's not the way I planned. It's just too good to pass up. I need a place to land. If you love me, then you know that I can love you just a little. 'Cause I can only give my soul to the one who gets all my riddles. And if I'd only known before what I know now and more, I'd have not been so afraid of me. Allow me to be loved the way I need to be. Allow me to be loved the way I need to be.
Very nice.
Thank you very
That
much.
was tremendous.
Thank
Well,
you.
unfortunately, we are out of time. But just real quick, where can people find you?
I'm on Facebook, my personal page, as well as Gays Music, Gays Music One on Facebook, and then my website, which is gays-music.com. So pop on, and if you want to join my mailing list, you can just hit the mailing list button, and I usually send it out about once a month. And hopefully, after all this is over, I'll be out seeing everybody and high fives and
Perfect.
lots of music.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And we are now going to send it over to Matt Clark, who will give us a quick update with what's coming up. And then Mike Tarosian will welcome our next guest, Sabine St. Pierre, to talk about being frugal. So, Matt, take it away. Gay, thanks once again.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, real quick. Tomorrow we have the new police chief coming on, Joseph Bennett, followed by Tim Tagnacci. On Wednesday we have John Catino and Cheryl Peralt, and Tara Malisi has a special episode at 7 p.m. And then at 10 a.m. on Thursday we have a special Hopkinton coffee break show coming up for everyone. So that should be really interesting.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt.
No problem.
So joining me for this half hour is my co-host, Bob Hamilton. Hi, Bob. And he's
I'm here, Mike. I forget I have to speak. You can't see me.
We just let Sabine in. Sabine, you just need to turn on your camera. And there you are.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
So here we have Sabine St. Pierre, who's with us. And a lot of people from Hopkins know who you are. Tons of people probably don't. But so that's where we like to start. If you can you tilt down your phone just a little bit? Lose some of that headroom. There you go. Perfect.
How's that?
Better.
Good.
So let tell people at home who don't know you, like this is your first time saying hi to Hopkinton.
Sure, not at all. So I'm Sabine St. Pierre. I've been in Hopkinton about 14 years. I own Sabine's Cuisine Personal Chef Services. So that's probably how most people know me. I've got a 6-year-old and a soon-to-be 9-year-old. His birthday's tomorrow, Cinco de
Oh,
Mayo.
excellent.
So keeping busy, homeschooling them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
On top of trying to do some Sabine's Cuisine. Yeah. So been here a long time. My dad, I think some people that may have known my dad, he owned Pizza Villa.
Good old Pizza Villa.
Yeah,
that's how we met many years ago when you were just a teenager in school.
Exactly.
When I was flipping the pies for your dad. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That was awesome.
So
And
we've been in town a long time.
Yeah, you've been in town a long time. You grew up just nearby in Grafton.
Yeah.
And then came here. You went off to college. You went to UConn, right?
I did. Yeah, I went for education.
Yep.
So I taught for almost 10 years.
Excellent. And so then you decided to get, I mean, you guys were all, all your sisters, you all did, I remember you all did gymnastics. It was like, I don't know how your dad kept that schedule with all 5 of you doing the gymnastics all the time. It was incredible. But so you always been into health and fitness. And you're coaching at Resilience on South Street, right?
I am. Yeah. I run their rowing club every Sunday. Right now we're doing a Zoom and it's turned into a cardio club, but I'm always on the rower.
Right. So you're doing that and you're always doing healthy cooking, healthy eating. You've been doing that forever. And you also bring it out to television too, right?
Yeah. I had a show for a while, a cleaner plate. And then life's just kind of gotten in the way. So we haven't done many episodes recently, but hoping to get back into that because that was a lot of fun. Good way to spread the word of clean eating.
Exactly. And so personal chef. Now, a lot of people think you have to be a king or a movie star to have a personal chef. That's what I think about. Bob thinks about that all the time. He wants his own personal chef. And but so what is a personal chef service?
Sure. So most people are thinking like private chef, where I'm cooking for one family every night, serving them dinners, and that's not what personal chefing is these days. So basically, I have weekly clients that I go to, every Monday, every Tuesday. Obviously, things are different now, with what we're going on with the coronavirus. So it's more of a delivery service for the clients that need me. A lot of them have special dietary needs or allergies, so they have very specific diets. So each of my clients have different menus, and I tailor the menu to each of the families and their restrictions. And I usually go to their house or deliver food once a week based on, it's usually 3 meals, 3 entrees, 3 sides. And I drop it off ready for them to heat and eat. So that's primarily what I do. So I'm doing their grocery shopping and prepping all the food and cooking it and dropping it off at this point.
Right. And I'm assuming there's some education that goes with us.
Yes. As far as what I went through for education.
Yeah. As far as you educating your clients, why you are choosing these menus.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. So I've learned a lot over the years about all the allergies and the special diets. And, for the clients that I'm cooking for weekly, definitely trying to educate them on a lot of the healthy swaps that I'm putting in for them. But through my workshops, my meal prep workshops that I used to do, and the children birthday parties I used to do, and hopefully we'll do again someday. It's a lot of education. I mean, I went to college to be a teacher. So that piece of me is still really, really there. We actually just did for Resilience CrossFit a dinner under the Zoom light. So we tried our first dinner through a Zoom with a lot of the members, and it was a huge success and just a great opportunity for people to come out and chat, just to see each other on the screen over food, because food is social.
Right.
This is hard.
This is real hard. You don't have to tell me. We'll talk about that too. But Bob has a question first.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't want to distract, but you brought up a point earlier about you go to people's homes and some people have dietary concerns about allergies. And I happen to have in my family several people that are strictly gluten-free and also lactose intolerance. So how hard is it to come up with gluten-free menus for a lot of your clients?
So that's actually, since it's my specialty, it's primarily, if you go on my website and look at my sample menu, most things on that menu are gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, nut-free, free of everything but flavor. They're full of flavor. And, people have the option, certainly if they don't have these allergies, I can add that stuff in. But primarily my cooking is gluten-free and dairy-free, and for the most part, soy-free.
Do you find that it's more difficult to cook for adults gluten-free or children gluten-free?
Probably children, because children tend to be pickier. I certainly have some picky adult eaters too, but they kind of understand that they need to nourish themselves and they need to eat. But that's part of where I come in, is helping people configure menus that will satisfy the picky eaters as well as accommodate all those allergies. And that's part of the challenge that I love. It
Yeah,
makes it fun.
yeah, that's good because in my own case, my wife and my granddaughters eat gluten-free, but I don't eat gluten-free unless I have to, which I
Yeah.
do often. And I find many things that I was used to eating my whole life now converted to gluten-free menus. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yep. And a lot of times I'm trying to deal with mostly, fresh produce and, if you stick to that perimeter of the supermarket. So it's not a lot of canned products. So a lot of things are just vegetables, and proteins are naturally gluten free. So, certainly there's places for rice, noodles, and, different kinds of things that they've now made gluten free. But I try to stick with things that are just kind of naturally gluten free and dairy free, so people don't feel like they're missing something.
Do you find you need to find alternative spices as well? Stay away from salt, say, for example.
Yep, definitely. I use a lot of fresh herbs. We do a big garden in the summer, and I try to load things up with fresh herbs. Not only does it add a lot of flavor, but it just kind of adds a nice, fresh punch to things.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
So the main reason why I even called you on the show is we were chatting in some group. I can't remember. Was it the Hopkins comes together?
No, I
Talking
think it was
about,
even just on my own personal page.
was it personal? Yeah, you came up with the
Yeah.
questions. What are people doing to save money, and how you get in the breaks from the bills when everyone's staying home, and I thought that was a great subject. And have you learned anything other than what we chatted about?
Oh my gosh. So many things. Obviously as a small business and, struggling during this pandemic, it kind of became obvious that I needed to start figuring out where we could cut back. And I thought of a couple of the obvious ones like cable, wireless, that kind of stuff, and had made a few calls. But then I was talking to someone else that mentioned Sirius radio. And I was like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. And then I started kicking myself because I'm like, why didn't I think of this 2 months ago? I could have saved 2 months already. So
Hold on, I gotta write that. You said serious. I didn't even think of that. You
Oh, yeah,
can't drive the
I
car
have a
anywhere, so
whole
why have to settle it?
I have a whole bunch of things here that I learned from that post. I had about 50 comments,
Yep.
and it was, all people like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that, or people that have done things that obviously are saving money. And some of these things are going to save people money in the long term
Right.
that we should have
You're
all been
absolutely right.
doing years ago.
Years ago, right? And I hear it all the time. I know that people that use their credit cards to build up their points or whatever, and as soon as a new card comes out that they have a chance to get the zero financing for a year,
They
swap
switch it
over their
over.
balances. Well, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's great. Um, One of the things that happened to me that I wasn't even expected, but I got a nice letter from Map Free Insurance.
Yeah.
They announced 15% off of my March and April bill,
Yeah.
and that I think was $40 a month on each, so motorcycle and car. So I'll be getting $80 off for each month,
And that
which
adds
is
up. I
huge.
mean,
Of
we
course,
called our wireless provider, and because at this point our phones, we're using off the internet and we're home, so we're using our own data,
nothing for
and
data.
so it
Yeah,
doesn't make sense to pay these big data plans. And they're trying to give people this free data, but we really don't need it, we're home.
right.
So I called and lowered our data plan and saved $20 there. And then you save I think most car insurances across the board
Sure.
are taking stuff off, and you can submit mileage. You can ask them if you can submit mileage and try to save even more off your bill. I mean, my husband's not even driving his car. He's teaching
Yeah.
from home now. So
Well, the
he's not going.
mileage. What Yeah, one thing that I learned is the mileage is automatically deducted. You used to have to fill out a form every year. If you
Yep.
drove under 10,000 miles, you would get a discount. And now I found out it's automatic and
Yep.
it's taken every time you get your sticker.
Yep.
They get your mileage every year.
Good.
So
And
that's a good news. I
someone else
you got it. Well, I was
posted,
gonna say when you're talking about your cell coverage.
go ahead. Yep.
Okay. All right, you go
Cell
ahead.
coverage. Go
You
ahead.
got a
Cell
delay going.
coverage.
Go
You were
ahead.
going to ask about cell phone. What about the cell phone?
Well, with the cell phone coverage, I had to be careful with the cell phone because I have an unlimited plan that I got really, really cheap. And if I
Okay.
try to go to something like a 5 gig or 5 meg plan, whatever it is, it could actually cost me more in the long run. So,
Yeah.
some things that you have, you might have got it as super cheap. You want to keep it.
Right. So, I mean, my biggest thing that I've learned through this whole thing is you just call and ask. They're getting, every company is getting bombarded with all these phone calls. And so, you just kind of have to ask. They'll talk you through it. And just say, I want to save some money. How can I lower my bill? And they should either tell you, well, you're at the lowest we can get you. You got a pretty good deal already. Or like with our cable, we didn't realize we were paying $10 a month for ESPN every month. We don't watch it. And there's no sports on right now.
Yeah.
So right there, we save $10.
Well, unless you want to watch the 1972 Stanley Cup playoffs, that's
Right.
on.
Yeah, exactly. But somebody had mentioned AAA, and if you have AAA, apparently this is next on my phone call list. You can bundle your home and auto, and they've got a low mileage discount now. What else I have in my notes here? A multi-car discount. And this person that was telling me this, they saved 5% on all of their policies, and they refinanced their house at a new, like a 2.62 rate for 15 years, and are saving 30K over the life of their mortgage. So it's worth
Right.
calling
Right.
if you either want to try to do bundles or call each company individually and just try to see if you can refinance even your car loan just for lower rates at this point.
Yeah, and I think that it used to be, well, not used to be, in the old days, a month ago, nobody really had the time to do that. But now when you're
Right.
at home and can't go anywhere, it's okay to get on the phone and spend 20 minutes on hold waiting for an answer. It might save
Right.
you $25.
Exactly. And like, the ones we've talked about so far are really those kind of long-term things that are going to save you. And it's so true. Like I've never had the time to sit down and make these calls. I've always wanted to be frugal. Now I can be, or I can try anyway.
How you saving at the grocery store? I mean, do you seem like um, what's your grocery bill been like being home
So
more?
I do. I mean, I have a card to Restaurant Depot, which I think now they've actually opened it up to the
They
public.
did let the public in. I have a card
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So buying in bulk is definitely huge. A lot of people are talking about shopping at places like Aldi, some of the off the path markets. There's a bread outlet in Milford. Some of these places where, things are just much cheaper and maybe not as crowded.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of times people are stuck to kind of going to where they're used to and not realizing that they're actually paying so much. Buying generic things, not, certain things don't need to be name brand except for the mac and cheese. You can't not have Annie's mac and cheese, but you can't find that now. So
I know. I can't find it.
yeah, no, it's definitely hard, and it's a little nerve wracking to watch the news about what's going to happen with proteins. And then people panic and they go out and buy tons and tons of packages, but just make sure you have places to store it and that you're actually going to use
Yeah.
it, because the worst thing
Yeah.
is to buy all this stuff and then not use it and have it go to
Right.
waste.
You're right. And one thing that I did notice too, how nice everyone's been. You're saving money here and there, but they're also donating. There are people that are donating their time, they're donating their money, they're
Yep.
going out supporting our food pantries, they're supporting our first responders, buying them meals and so
Yeah.
forth. I see that, you know, I'm on Facebook a lot, as you know, and we has seen how our news feeds have changed to see it being a lot more positive out there and people trying to help one another.
Yeah. I mean, as much as like there's negatives to this pandemic, obviously, one thing I've said from the beginning is when my kids look back on this in 20, 30, 40 years, I want them to remember the positive things.
Right.
And it's really given everyone the opportunity to kind of take a breath, step back a little bit, kind of reassess and appreciate the finer things in life, like being able to go outside. And, someday when we get to see and hug people again, it'll be amazing.
Yeah,
So,
remember, you didn't have to be the only person on the swing set. You could have 6 people on
right,
the swing set now.
right.
But I'm also afraid that the people that are the only thing they're gonna remember is Carol Baskin's killing her husband. I don't know.
I know.
Some of these things, things that are coming out.
I know.
Yeah, it's
I know. There's a lot of funny things out there, just trying to get people to laugh. But just
right.
going back to the outside quickly, as I'm seeing my
Yeah.
kids running around, and the groceries, planting a garden. That's a big one. That's a good, get your family together, plant a big garden if you have the space. And that's something else too. People, like, we end up growing so much, that we're always kind of putting a post out here and there, like, anyone needs some
Come and get
kale.
it. Yeah, come
Anyone
and
needs
get
some
it.
zucchini. So if you have the space, go for a big garden this year.
So
And then you
Bob,
can bring
Bob,
people up.
I'll give you Sabine's address because I know how much you love kale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I
I
buy
can
it
help
by
you
the
love
leaf.
kale, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah. Or quinoa.
Oh, I have some great ways to make quinoa that you won't even know that it's there.
Oh, can you please tell me, because they make it at the fire station all the time, and I never liked any way they prepared it. So.
The best way to prepare it is like to make risotto. So you mix it with arborio rice and do like a half and half mixture. So
Really?
it's in there. You can see it, but it's not
Yeah.
like eating a spoonful of quinoa. Even I
Okay.
don't really love that.
Okay.
Is that
And
like
I'm pretty
hiding it under
hardcore.
the mashed potatoes?
Yeah. You'll feel it. It's got
Yeah.
a texture to it.
Yeah.
So
And just one other thing I wanted to
Yep.
mention too, like some of the sneaky things people may not have
Yeah.
thought of are like monthly subscriptions. We talked about SiriusXM before, but there's a lot of apps out there that you may have like clicked a button and did a free trial and didn't realize that you're paying $5, $10 every month for this app.
right.
Magazines. I was still getting Food and Wine magazine, but you can do a lot of those now on Kindle for way cheaper. If you
Way
want to keep
cheaper.
them.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
and
I mean,
everyone's gotten pets.
a lot of people
Did you-
don't. A lot of people don't like the feel of a Kindle compared to a magazine too. So
I know I can't do a Kindle. I just did
Yeah.
I unsubscribed. But I've also noticed, I'm sure you've noticed, all the people getting pets, getting dogs, especially.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
It-
they cost a lot,
Yeah.
with vet
Uh,
bills and stuff. So like doing Chewy.com is a great
Yep.
wholesale.
I just put in my order for a 10-pound bag of food. I just adopted Kaya April
Yeah.
1st, and which I was also surprised to find a lot of these shelters are closed and have their dogs fostered because they don't want the interaction with the people. And
Right.
so a lot of places aren't open, which I was shocked. I says, now's the time to
I
get a
know.
dog when everyone's home and takes care of it.
Yeah, but
That's-
yeah, apparently it's not essential, and it is hard, But as long as they're being fostered, they're being loved, and
As long as they're being cared for, they're not stuck in that cage and
right.
at the pound. So
Yeah.
so getting the pets, yeah, pets are expensive. Joining clubs, and also when you join those clubs like the Chewy or the Pet Supplies, um, they also have the automatic refill, which you can even get cheaper.
Yes. Yep.
That's
And it's
a
worth
key
it.
thing to sign for.
Yeah, and they give you the option. I mean, if you have a new pet, a new puppy or something, it's hard to tell, like, how do you need it monthly? Do you need it bi-monthly?
Right.
So once you kind of figure out like how long a bag will last you, you can set it on that auto ship, and you can change it at any time too.
Absolutely, and there are deals, and you'd be surprised how much I find Chewy better than Amazon. A lot of times
Yeah.
they're either the same price or Chewy is just so much less
Yep.
because you don't know who you're buying it from Amazon. At least Chewy, you got a clue
Right. Right. And like that's their specialty,
without a doubt. So when it comes to preparing meals, and all right, let's talk about the single people out there like myself. You have I found it easier for me to go out, have my meals, because I was always a half plater, eat half, take home half, and
Yep.
that worked out great. But now that I don't have that option, and plus I don't like being at home eating a lot. I'd rather go out and eat with people. Uh, but I'm finding myself preparing, and
Yep.
the preparing of the meals. What is the best way? I'm going to say to keep. I mean, casseroles they almost last forever. But
Yep.
when keeping your vegetables fresh for someone like me, one person, and you just can't always get that one tomato. You have to buy the vine of four or the lettuce. How do you keep that stuff really, really fresh and useful?
If you buy some of those bag lettuces or the boxes of lettuce, usually what I'll do is once I open it up, I'll stick some paper towels deep down in it. It's the moisture in the bags that make them wilt and go bad. So if you can get rid of that moisture, that's key for those. And
Wow.
a lot of people are trying to go to the supermarket once a week or sometimes once every 2 weeks. So it's really hard at that point to get fresh produce that's going to last that long.
Right,
Which is
right.
why you can't find a lot of frozen vegetables.
Yeah, I noticed it
People,
empty over there. Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, if you go to Restaurant Depot or some of those wholesale family style packages of green beans, you could certainly use the green beans that you want for a meal or two that week, and then blanch the rest of them and freeze them yourself. And then you've
But
got
they have to be blanched first.
Yes. So you just
Yeah.
boil them quickly for about
Yep.
30 seconds or so. And then you're supposed to throw them in an ice bath, but that can sort of be a pain. So I usually just put them in a colander and wash them under cold water.
Cold
You just want
water.
to stop the
That's
cooking
how I
process.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
that's how I do it too. Cold water.
I don't have time for
Ice
ice baths.
maybe when I get my big ice machine, I'll
Yeah.
do an ice
I
bath.
need my
Yeah.
ice for my margaritas at this point.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to be needing those real soon.
Yeah,
So we have
tomorrow.
so that's a great tip with the paper towel with the lettuce, because I got a head in there that I'm gonna put away and I need to know. So paper towels. Um, what else? What's a good way to keep your chicken without and I'm also talking about getting so much that when you do freeze it, that you don't run into your freezer burn. What's the
Right.
best way to package and store chicken? Do you cook it first? Do you what? How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to like to freeze stuff raw. I mean, you certainly could make pulled chicken and freeze it and have it ready to go. But I actually had just bought some chicken tenders, a 10-pound bag at Restaurant Depot.
Yeah,
So I just was portioning those out today. I have a vacuum sealer.
vacuum
So
seal. Yeah.
you can use a vacuum sealer. I mean, that's a good investment at this point. And they're not that expensive. You could probably prime it in a couple days through Amazon. And that's just a good way to really prevent that freezer burn because it will really get all that air. It's air in between like a Ziploc bag and the protein that's going to create
Yep.
that freezer burn. So, I mean, if I do use Ziploc bags, I just make sure to press out as much air as I can. And I try to freeze things in thinner packages so it defrosts quicker rather than a big chunk.
Right.
Like steaks, if you don't have a vacuum sealer, you could individually wrap the steaks in saran wrap and then put them in a Ziploc bag. A lot of people are buying butcher paper, but again, I would seal them in saran wrap so
Right.
there's very little air in between, and then put the butcher paper on it.
Because I remember my mother with the aluminum foil throwing it in the freezer, and it's like,
Yeah. The tough part about aluminum foil, and that's why I don't like the butcher paper, is I can't see it. And
yeah,
even though I label it, you want to label it with
yeah,
the
label
dates.
dates. Yes.
Get your dates on there, people. It's an extra step. But with all this freezing going on, we're all going to look in our freezers next year and see stuff in the way back. And you're going to alternate stuff in your freezer too. I mean, a lot of people are buying the chest freezers. When this
Yes.
started, things get lost.
In the
So if you're
bottom.
putting new stuff in, take stuff from the bottom and stick the new stuff at the bottom. You got to rotate it or you're going to
Gotta
lose.
rotate it. Gotta rotate it.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you on milk. I see you have your regular store brand, you have your hoods, you have your Westland creameries, but now I'm seeing these horizons like pasteurized, and I see one milk lasting, sell by date of a week, and then I see another one that has 2 months. What's that about?
Again,
Do you know?
Yeah, you're good. I mean, if you're someone that's really trying to stretch that out, I mean, most people, like, once you open the milk, it's not going to last for 2 months.
Right.
So like if it says it'll last for 2 months, it's typically unopened.
Yep.
And most people, depending on how quickly you drink the milk, you're not going to keep it in your fridge. And I personally
Right.
wouldn't stock up on a 2 month supply of milk.
Right. Right.
Buy a couple gallons or, whatever. We go through probably a gallon a week here at my house. So, I just kind of, when I'm
Thank you.
out,
Yep.
when I know I'm low, I just buy a new one to have as a backup when the other one's out.
Right. Well, that's great. All right. So last minute advice to everybody to survive. What do we got? Let's see, this is the fourth. We got 15 more days before they start loosening up the order.
Yeah, we'll
Something like
see.
that. What do you
Yeah.
think? What kind of advice can you leave everybody with?
I would say just keep chatting with your friends, keep Zooming, keep FaceTiming, and just keep doing fun things with your family. The weather's finally turning. Get outside, do some fun stuff, still have some fun over a plate of food and
Yep.
cook dinners together. This is an opportunity for a lot of life skills. Teach your kids how to cook, have them make their breakfasts and lunches. And when we get back to school, we're going to be really happy they have that new skill.
So, and I'm sure with your boys, they get their rooms nice and clean because they got all the time to keep them clean and
Oh,
make their
yeah.
beds. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep.
I'm glad you can notice sarcasm. That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, Sabine, thank you very much for coming on today. I
Yeah, thanks
really
for having me.
appreciate it. It was great. We maybe have you back for another update. If hopefully this doesn't carry on too much longer, we can get back into our TV studio and start making shows again.
I
But
know.
I'd love to have you back sometime.
Yeah, sounds good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Tell your sisters I said hello and your mom and everything, and we'll see you
I
soon.
will. All right.
Excellent.
Sounds good. See you later, Bob.
Bye now.
Bye.
All right, Bob. So what's the first thing you gotta do? Who's the first place you're gonna call, Bob?
Yeah, who's the first place I'm going to call?
Is it Verizon? Is it gonna be
Comcast.
Comcast? Yes. Good luck with that. Let me know
Yeah,
how that
exactly.
one works. That's awesome. Well, Bob, that was a great show, and I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Gay Perkoski for coming on. Tom hosted that, and you helping me with Sabine, and hopefully people got something out of it. So, um, for Bob Hamilton, Tom Nappy, and the rest of the HCAM crew, Matt and Jim, we'll see you next time.